Between Silvertown and the Royal Docks lies the Silver Building, a brutalist structure erected in 1965 for the British Oil and Cake Mills. After deindustrialization in London, it was left uninhabited for almost 2 decades until Nick Cartwright, a social entrepreneur, transformed the space. This video aims to discuss civic issues surrounding the building, such as its temporariness and the culture of building artist communities.
Nick is the CEO of Project, a company which has been involved in the successful renovation of multiple rundown buildings, often to provide meanwhile usage. During our interview with him, he discussed how this temporary usage can really change things, as it brings communities along with regeneration rather than displacing them. It is also beneficial to developers by reducing the risk of owning an empty building. At the Silver Building, they partnered with the GLA and the owners of the site, Keystone, to create 34 affordable studios for creatives, a gallery and a cafe and bar space. We also interviewed Russell Potter from the architecture firm Soda Studio, who had previously spoken of how they wanted to let the building speak for itself. With relatively simple changes such as to the circulation of users of the building, they made a massive difference to the atmosphere. The building is facing demolition within the next 7 years, but tenants will be transferred to other project buildings before returning to the development which is replacing the current Silver Building once it is completed.
Given that the project has a meanwhile usage, the building will eventually be demolished by Keystone to enable them to redevelop the site as part of the Tameside West development scheme, which will include 5,000 new homes and commercial spaces. Therefore, there is a potential for conflict between Keystone and the current tenants, as explained by Charlotte, the building manager.
I think it's got so much, it's not just a building, and especially inside it, if you knew, like I do, I'm here every day, make people come in. People are so attached that this is their office, that they build their career, their business from it, and they've got all these memories of stuff, and to think it's just going to get knocked down for a block of flats, which we already have.
Furthermore, it is important to consider the fact that the planning permission for this development scheme is currently facing issues with Newham Council.
The temporariness of the Silver Building raises key concerns of how worthwhile the space is in the next 7 years. Our interview with tenant and musician Ian White explored this further as his studio space is put at risk. Although there's a disagreement regarding Keystone's future plans of demolition, the current use of the civic space seems to be greatly appreciated by tenants. We can measure how valuable a temporary space is by looking at SET, an arts initiative based in centres across London. SET provides affordable artist workspaces and is home to 100 members who believe that temporary space provision is more ideal than none. In comparison to other vulnerable art spaces in London that roughly remain for another 3 years, 7 years of availability may be considered as more long-term. Therefore, considering the short lifespan of such spaces, the Silver Building proves to be a somewhat successful meantime use whilst the Thameside development is in action.
The culture of refurbishing industrial buildings to build artist communities is lately almost becoming a trend within different countries, and we wanted to explore whether it is sustainable and authentic. Using the PMQ in Hong Kong as a similar space, it is revitalized as a hub for creative and design industries and one of the biggest conservation projects in Hong Kong history. It is the heart of many local art events and exhibitions, capturing the hearts of locals and tourists. Similarly, the same is happening at the Silver Building. Although it is temporary, there is no doubt that these artist communities are very authentic and genuine when it comes to the artist or the use of space, shown by how passionate tenants such as Ian and the building manager are about the building.
It's fair to say that the Silver Building and other spaces like it have catered for the needs of the creative community. Even though most are never permanent, the impact for tenants, especially startup businesses, can be great. And while the Silver Building might not live for long, the drive for affordable spaces will be an ongoing affair. The Silver Building and the works of companies like Project show the potential for more socio-economically sustainable regeneration projects.